Imagine a man at the peak of power, emperor of the greatest empire on earth. Legions march at his command, gold flows through his halls. But at night, he writes to himself in silence, not to boast, not to rule, but to remind himself none of this is truly his. This man was Marcus Aurelius, and the philosophy he lived by was not conquest, but stoicism. Stoicism teaches one core truth. You do not control the world, you only control yourself. Pain, betrayal, loss, death, they will come. But your response, that is your kingdom. As Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Stoicism was born in Greece around 300 BC, founded by Zeno of Citium. But it was the Romans who transformed it into a way of life, through men like Seneca, Epictetus, and ultimately, Marcus. To the Stoics, the good life wasn't about pleasure or fame. It was about virtue, courage, justice, wisdom, and self-discipline. They taught that the external world is chaos, but your judgment of that chaos, that is where freedom begins. Epictetus, once a slave, said, "We suffer not from events, but from our judgment about them." And Marcus echoed this in war, in sickness, in grief. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Every obstacle, he believed, was not an enemy, but a tool for transformation. Marcus never sought the throne. He was a philosopher first. But Emperor Hadrian saw something in him, a mind trained in logic, discipline, and restraint. He was adopted into the royal family, mentored by the Emperor Antoninus Pius, and groomed to rule. But when he finally became emperor in 161 AD, it wasn't peace he inherited, it was crisis. The empire was under siege. Germanic tribes attacked in the north. The Parthian Empire pushed from the east. A deadly plague, now known as the Antonine Plague, swept across the Roman world, killing an estimated 5 million people. And yet, he didn't collapse. He didn't complain. Instead, he wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." Where others broke under pressure, Marcus looked inward. He governed not just the empire, but his own soul. In 175 AD, his most trusted general, Avidius Cassius, declared himself emperor, believing Marcus was dead. This betrayal could have destroyed the empire. But Marcus responded not with rage, but restraint. He asked the Senate to pardon Cassius. Mercy, he believed, was a sign of strength, not weakness. In Meditations, he wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." Cassius was killed before the pardon arrived. But the lesson remained. True leadership begins with self-mastery. To be like Marcus is to choose discipline over impulse, wisdom over pride, and grace over vengeance. He was emperor of the world, but even he couldn't escape grief. Marcus buried 7 of his 13 children. Imagine the depth of that loss, the silence of that palace. And yet he wrote, "Everything that happens is either endurable or not. If it's endurable, then endure it. If it's not, then stop complaining. Your destruction will mean its end as well." He knew that life is brief, that pain is inevitable. But he also knew this: complaining is easy, mastery is rare. And through it all, he returned again and again to one question. What is in my control? Marcus Aurelius died in 180 AD, exhausted from war and illness. His son Commodus, the opposite of all Marcus stood for, inherited the throne and would go on to poison the empire with cruelty and chaos. But Marcus's true legacy wasn't in politics. It was in meditations, his journal, his self-dialogue, his mental training. He left behind not an empire, but a guide for living, a roadmap for the soul. Look well into thyself, there is a source of strength which will always spring up if thou wilt always look. Today, over 1800 years later, we still read his words, we still feel his struggle, and we still learn. Marcus Aurelius did not live in comfort, he lived in the storm. He did not preach from a mountain. He wrote by candlelight, in battle camps, amid death and disaster. He ruled the world, but never let the world rule him. So ask yourself today, do you control your emotions or do they control you? Do you seek ease or do you seek growth? Do you complain about what you cannot change? Or do you master what you can? Like Marcus, you may not control your fate, but you can control your response, and that is where real power begins. Sometimes you may feel stuck in life, which feels like there is no way out. But by learning about experiences of philosophers like Marcus Aurelius who went through hardships can help you out of your own difficulties in life. That is how I find my way out through the trials of life.